This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and something that's not so high-end. We've been doing a lot of high-end laptops lately, and this is the Dell Inspiron 5482. So that's their mid-range line. They have the 3000, the 5000, and the 7000 series, and obviously the 5000 falls in the middle. The price starts around $540, and that's probably a configuration that you won't be that excited about unless you're really on a tight budget. So for $540, you can get a Core i3, 4 gigs of RAM, and a spinning hard drive. Now we have the model that lists for $899, but it sells for around $865. That gets you the new Core i7 Whiskey Lake quad-core Ultrabook CPU inside, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 256 gig NVMe SSD. This is a full HD IPS display that's compatible with pen, and they switched over to N-Trig pens again. This is getting confusing. They were using Wacom AES at Dell. Now it's N-Trig, much like the HP Spectre X360 line and the Surface Pro 6 used. And it's full HD only. That's your only option. It's a mid-range laptop. We're going to look at it now. So there are actually a lot of Inspiron 5000 models. Again, this is the 5482. There's also a 5481. That's about $150 cheaper for starting price. That one doesn't go up to the Core i7 level, which is what we have. That's Core i3, Core i5. That one doesn't have the active digitizer for the pen. So if you're trying to figure out the differences, those are the differences there primarily. There's also traditional non-360 degree 15-inch and 17-inch models available with your choice of AMD Ryzen or Intel inside. Now, I've seen mention of Inspiron 5000s with NVIDIA MX130 and 150 graphics. However, they're not on the Dell US website, and we don't have that. This says Intel UHD 620 integrated graphics, like most Ultrabooks. And this is an Ultrabook with a 15-watt CPU inside. The new Whiskey Lake architecture, what does that bring you? A little bit higher turbo boost speed. This is still Intel 8th generation. It's not that big a jump, so don't get too excited about that. And it brings you the better, more strong Intel AC 9560 Wi-Fi. That is worthwhile, and it's gigabit Wi-Fi inside. It sort of competes with the HP Pavilion 13-inch. That one doesn't support the pen. And then there's the Asus ZenBook Flip also. This one being a 14-inch is a nice size for those of you who want something a little bit bigger, obviously, than a 13-inch, but you want to go as big as a 15-inch. 14 inches are kind of popular these days. It's not the lightest, but it's not super heavy. Inspirons used to be built kind of tanky. I always said they were great for students for that reason, a little bit hard to damage. You can see the weight and the measurements. It's not ultra thick. This is not premium. This is not an XPS 13. But the upside of that is actually some pretty good stuff. Because it doesn't have to be super light and super thin, there's actually room for more so-called legacy ports, the ones that most of us still use all the time. So you have 3 USB-A ports. 2 of them are 3.0 and one of them is 2.0 with charging capabilities. You have a USB-C 3.1 Gen 1, no Thunderbolt 3 at this price range, or Gen 2 USB-C even. You have an HDMI 1.4B port, so that's pretty good too, but it's 1.4B, not 2.0, so it's not going to drive a 4K display at 60 Hertz, but it will do it at 30 Hertz, or lower resolution displays at 60 Hertz as well. Of course, there's a headphone jack, and yay, there's an SD card slot. So that's good there. Another thing that having not the skinniest chassis in the world brings us is when you take the bottom off, which isn't too hard, unlike HP, who makes it kind of hard with their consumer laptops, you unscrew the Phillips head screws on the bottom, and we'll show you that inside. But what you've got is a 2.5-inch hard drive bay and an M.2 SSD slot inside, and 2 RAM slots as well. So if you buy the 8 gig model, which is what we have, it's 8 gigs of RAM, the 256 gig SSD, you can just buy another 8 gig module, which isn't as painfully expensive, and throw that in there. You're up to 16 gigs just like that, or you could go for broke and go for 32 gigs. Something I like about the Inspiron models, they're kind of designed for the tinkerers out there who might want to upgrade after the fact. You'll note when looking inside on ours that we have a really short height, not the full-length 2280 SSD. Don't worry, there's enough room and there's a mounting screw point for the normal full-size 2280 SSD if you want to pick up one aftermarket. In terms of performance, it's a quad-core Ultrabook, so it does what most quad-core Ultrabooks do in the 13 and 14-inch size ranges, which these days is pretty much a lot, honestly, since we do have 4 cores and a pretty healthy turbo boost range. So it's up there for those of you who want to use this for coding, for example. Photoshop, yes, it has the horsepower, and Premiere, sure, but especially for 1080p video, which is the sweet spot for Ultrabooks, but the display isn't all that. We'll talk about that in a minute. So it's powerful enough. Again, this is not the premium line, so this isn't like the XPS 139370 or some competing models that actually maintain higher turbo boosts. You can see in our PC Mark X graph, we see the usual seesawing that we see in a lot of Ultrabooks, where it's dropping the clock speeds down and up and down and up and down and up, because it can't maintain a steady turbo boost. Again, that's pretty normal for Ultrabooks, but it's not one of the premium ones that actually goes beyond and manages to go higher. The core temperatures on this one is running something like a PC Mark X benchmark. We'll hit into the 90s centigrade, 100 is allowable. This is pretty much standard for today's Ultrabooks. It doesn't get that hot to the touch though, in part because it's quite thick. It has a decent sized fan. It does not get loud either. The fan noise is not annoying. There is a little bit of coil whine on ours. Now for the keyboard and trackpad, the trackpad is a Microsoft Precision trackpad. It's perfectly pleasant, and people love Microsoft Precision trackpads these days. The keyboard, I'm never a big fan of the Inspiron keyboards. It is backlit, but it doesn't have a lot of actuation force, so it feels a little bit mushy, and the key travel isn't that deep. It's not a terrible keyboard, but it's certainly not like a ThinkPad, wonderful kind of keyboard. So the display, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is, well, it's a 360-degree convertible, so you can use this in tent mode, in tablet mode, all that sort of thing, versatile. The optional N-Trig pen, which Dell sells, and you can use the Surface Pro pen if you want. There are others. The Wacom Bamboo ink supports it as well. It's your typical N-Trig pen. It's decent. You'll see some jitter on diagonal lines. Palm rejection's okay, not super fantastic. That's just the way N-Trig rolls. It's decent enough. It's fine if you want to buy it for note-taking, diagramming, and all that sort of thing. So the not so hot news is it's a very glossy display, and that's not unusual, but it's also not a very bright display. Maybe in part because Inspirons have never had the most fantastic battery life, but this is only 200 nits. So for those of you who are planning on working outdoors, this wouldn't be your choice. You want something with a brighter display. Some of the metrics are very good. The gamma on this, the white point, all that stuff is really very good. It's spot on. The color gamut, though, is kind of weak. Now, the good news is to look at it, you'd say, oh, this is a pleasant looking display. If you're watching a movie or something like that, it's not going to pop off the screen like a premium display and say, whoa, beautiful. But it's decent enough. But you can see the color gamut metrics on screen, and yeah, it's not all that. 49% of Adobe RGB when you're in the 60s for sRGB. This is not your pick for photo editing and video editing if you're pretty serious about it. If you're just doing it for fun, you know, upload stuff on YouTube or Facebook, whatever, to share with your friends, yeah, it's okay for that. But if you're doing it with more serious intent, no. Speaking of that battery life, again, it comes with your usual 45-watt charger, brick style, and it has a 42-watt-hour battery, which is, you know, pretty average. You see the 40s to the 50-watt-hour for Ultrabooks in this size class. Battery life on this isn't too horrible. In part, you got a 200 nit display. It's not like you can possibly drive this super bright and kill your battery life, right? We test at 150 nits of brightness and do a mix of productivity work, Word, Excel, streaming video on Netflix or Amazon Prime, doing a little bit of Photoshop work, and typically it lasts about 6.5 hours. It's not stellar, but it's not horrible either. The laptop has stereo speakers that are down-firing, and the Waves Max audio, they're pretty decent actually. The volume is pretty good, and the bass is not non-existent, which, you know, in a 14-inch laptop is a good thing. It's not bad actually. So that's the Dell Inspiron 14-inch model, the 5000 series, the 5482, 2-in-1. You know, always I like the Inspirons because there's a lot of value there, and you get a pretty good build quality. They're still fairly tanky. You got a metal chassis on them, and you've got the latest Intel Whiskey Lake CPU inside. It's a capable enough Ultrabook. The display is a little bit of a letdown, but like I said, experientially, if you're looking at it, it's not that bad, actually, and given the price tag, it's fair enough. And the other thing I really love about Inspirons is the fact that you can upgrade them after the fact. So if you're a little bit of a techie and an enthusiast and you want to put a hard drive in afterwards, or a bigger hard drive, or an SSD, or upgrade the RAM, you can do it, which is pretty nice, because a lot of Ultrabooks today, pretty much everything is soldered down. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.